This is my impersonation of RoboCop if he was a sometimes necrophile. Drop it! Dead or alive, I'm coming in you.
Horror deconstruction.
What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us everywhere on Instagram and Twitter and wherever else you want to find us with your host Komp and
Yandel.
today's film is
Death House. What the fuck was this made? It was 2017.
but I think released 2018.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Somewhere-
isn't it like new?
Yeah, somewhere I read that Netflix bought it, but then I didn't find it on. I thought I saw it on Netflix. I didn't watch the actual.
I
film on
think I'm
Netflix,
gonna have
I
to
saw
sell
somewhere
my
else.
stock now.
But Netflix is a supposed horror film. During an exclusive tour, a power breakdown inside a secret prison known as the Death House sends two agents fighting through a labyrinth of horrors while being pursued by a ruthless army. Directed by B. Harrison Smith as Harrison Smith. Writers Gunnar Hansen, that's the original writer who was also known as Leatherface from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Written also by B. Harrison Smith as Harrison Smith. Stars Cody Longo, Courtney Palm, Adrian Barbeau, D. Wallace, as well as our lovely lady friend Barbara Crampton.
Barbara
Also has Sid
Crampton.
Haig. So I had heard about this film a long time
The
ago. They tried to sell this-
the amazing actor Kane Hodder,
oh yes,
starring
he's
as the villain.
He's the one that takes the I guess the lead sort of villain role in this movie, and people were like saying, "Oh man, Kane Hodder, he's gonna get his due," and they forgot the second due because it was doo. This movie. So anyway, they tried to explain that this movie was the expendables of horror because it was gonna have basically every well-known horror bad guy or a person who's portrayed a villain in a horror movie,
Yeah.
and you know it's not that good even when what's his name, Freddy Krueger didn't even show up in this fucking movie. Robert Englund.
Yeah.
Robert Englund would have
They
probably.
didn't have Brad Dourif either.
That's true. Robert Englund would rather clip his fucking toenails than do this movie. Trust me, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
But there's some pretty notable people, and think about it. Remember how long the scene is that a machete has in this movie? It's the longest scene in the whole movie.
This longest scene was the scene where they're falling in the fucking elevator.
No, but the guy who plays Machete, what is his name? You know who that
Danny
actor is.
Trejo.
Danny Trejo. He's literally in the film for 30 seconds, and he gets killed off.
I don't
This-
even remember it. That's how
this
stupid
movie,
it was.
This movie is mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. I don't know what the fuck I saw.
Yeah.
I don't understand how this could
The
happen.
thing is, because you saw it before me, and you telling me, like, oh, it's so bad. And, like, so I went and watching it, and the first, like, 45 minutes, I was like, it is bad, but it's not, like, so bad. But then it just got so bad at some point. When they're falling in the elevator, I think was the point where it was
that
like,
was
what
the
the
point
fuck?
where it was like, oh boy. Here's the thing with Death House. They took a horror film that I've never seen before. I'm sure there has been horrors in prisons. You know, there
Yeah.
was a prison ghost movie, I think, that I heard
It was kind of a
and
cool
it's-
idea. It was kind of
The
a cool
idea of
plot.
it could be done, but they didn't have the money for it, A, and B, they could have just simplified the fucking horror movie into a prison riot movie. That's
Yeah.
all they had to do. They added... Okay, let's explain this first. There's two... I don't know what this movie's about. Okay, so there's two... Do you know what this movie's about? Because I have no
Not
idea
really.
what the
And at
fucking
one
movie's
point,
about.
it made me think: is this just them under brainwashing?
That's
like
what I
this
thought
whole-
too. Because, listen...
but I'm not sure. And then, like, I guess the people that live in the basement are like, God, like it seemed like they were trying. Honestly, I don't know how to explain the movie. Like, I'm
know.
trying.
Because it makes it sound like we're dumb and we didn't get the deeper meaning of this film. I just think that there's no idea what the fuck they were doing when they
I
made
mean, if
this
you go any
movie.
deeper, you're in the fucking sewer. Like, it's ridiculous.
So on the outside, we just looking in. There is a place called the Death House. It's this prison that's I think 9 levels deep or something. I guess it's supposed to be like Dante's Inferno. They're trying to be really smart with that.
Yeah.
I don't know what Gunnar Hansen was thinking when he wrote this shit. And so there's this prison in a future prison, right? And it takes them millions of dollars a year to keep this prison going, to keep these insane serial killers alive, to study them, to see, I guess, how people become serial killers.
And they want to basically Clockwork Orange them back into society or something.
something like that. And these two cops are brought in. I don't know why. I don't know why these two.
Well, that's the thing. I think they like put them under a brain hypnosis to believe that they were put in, but really it's just part of their programming or something.
Yeah, I think they might have been back because in the beginning of the film, there's if I'm trying to remember this, I saw this three weeks ago or something like that. In the beginning of the film, the female agent who is played by I think it's Courtney Palm. Is it Courtney Palm that plays her? She was in. I was trying to remember where I saw her because she sort of looks like that other actress. She looks like Olivia, the Asian actress in Predator movie. But she was in Zombievers. She was the girl with the short black hair who was like topless.
Okay.
So
that movie, as bad as it is actually fun.
No, it's much better than this. And she's like, how does that begin? It has Kane Hodder, and for a moment I'm watching the movie and I was like. Because I always shit on Kane Hodder all the time because he's so obsessed with being known as Jason Voorhees. Like, that's his claim to it. It's like if you saw this and Sean Connery was like walking around going, "I'm James Bond, it's me," like every 5 seconds. Like who cares? So what?
Yeah.
And but he does that because I guess that's his claim to fame. Then I was watching some preview for a documentary based on him. I guess he went through a lot of shit. I don't know. But I remember, I read one. This isn't funny, but I don't know why I'm laughing saying this. He got into he was trying to show off a stunt thing like many years ago to a news reporter. Yeah. Where he set himself on fire. The thing is, he actually caught on fire and burnt most of his body.
Oh,
so, like,
shit.
If you really look at his body's like jacked up because of the flames and shit like that.
What the fuck?
And I guess what? So
why would somebody do something so stupid?
Well, I guess he didn't prepare himself, or some sort of mishap happened. Anyway, he still went through with the stunt. Anyway, so that made me sort of feel bad for him because listen, the guy just wants to be in film. He wants to live his life as being a stuntman or whatever, and his claims to fame was Jason. Fine, I always feel bad that I say that because the guy's just a regular guy, but he's like puts on this tough guy persona. Well, I'm sure he's tough. And in this, I was like the first 10 minutes or so, or whatever scenes that he's in, he's not bad because he's not overacting. He's not doing anything. You know what I mean? He's not. Here's the thing.
The script is the problem, but he's not the best either.
Right. Compared to him, everything else is so bad, he's not awful in the movie. That's the thing. Yeah. And I don't think he's a bad actor. He's just, what you're giving to him. Because people think he's great in, what are those movies? The Hillbilly movie where he's like a mutant hillbilly?
What that's people? Last House in the no.
No. You know how he was Jason, and he was in that other horror film that we saw where he plays like a fucking mutant hillbilly in the middle of the Cajun.
Yeah, I just can't think of the name of it. What the fuck is the name of
that movie? Anyway, whatever. So he's playing some sort of hyper crazy serial killer who's like sort of a cheap version of Hannibal. Mm-hmm. And the female cop is there, and she has like a mother and son there in the room, and then she shoots the mother and son, and then shoots him. And I'm like, why didn't she just shoot those?
Yeah, why didn't she shoot him in the first place?
Because I guess she was his acolyte or something like that. I have no idea.
No, she was trying to investigate him as a police officer to get him in trouble for being a Nazi.
And she was right. That's what I forgot. And she was undercover.
But she broke her cover either way, so might as well shoot him and not kill.
You're right. She shot this woman in child. Okay, so that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then there's the other one with this cop, Cody Longo. This guy who has, he looks like he walked out of a fucking ad for like, handsome men's clothing and shit like that. He has a haircut I can't imagine that they would allow him to wear in the profession that he's in. It's like a haircut like he was in the band Orgy or some shit like that.
Yeah, it's a little silly.
Like it's a little strange, but whatever. He's a good looking guy. She's a good looking woman. They're essentially both good looking people. There's even a shower scene for no reason.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Anyway, so it makes absolutely no sense.
It's like a very generic. It reminded me of like some kind of generic idea of like a cop action movie for like half the time, and then it became like an inexplicable supernatural thing.
We'll get to that. So they bring these two cops in, and then they meet Dee Wallace, who's slumming it here. Dee Wallace is a good actor. She was in Spielberg movies, so to speak. She was in.
And she was in Cujo, though, right? I'm pretty sure.
Right. She was in Close. She does mostly horror films now because you know how Hollywood is. Like once you hit a certain age for a woman, they throw you right in the trash bin. So
The Hills Have Eyes, by the way.
She was also in the Close Encounters, right? I think that's what she was in.
I don't know.
And she's in here acting, and then I have to eat my own words because Barbara Crampton's here, and she's actually very good in this.
Barbara Crampton's awesome.
Right, you
I
always
don't
say
know why
that
you don't
because
like her.
The first time I had a problem is like when I saw her in that movie, We Are Still Here. Remember the grieving parents in that the haunted house? That was the worst acting. That movie was just like super bad. It wasn't her fault. Now I realize it. Because then, when I saw her in Reanimator, and then I saw her in From Beyond, I was like, okay, she's good. And
Yeah,
then,
she's
like,
fun.
I listened to an episode of this podcast called Post Mortem with Mick Garris, where they interview her, and she seems like a chill lady. Like she's just
still
mad
like
chill.
kind of hot. Like
She is. She was. I was just watching the last season. Those cocksuckers at Sci-Fi canceled Channel Zero, and she's in it, and she's fucking smoking hot. She even like she jerks off in the scene. Good for her. She's still hot, man.
Wait, can women jerk off?
Well, they say that too instead of Jill off. Anyway, so Barbara Crampton here, they're playing two doctors. Dee Wallace is playing Dr. Eileen Fletcher, and Barbara Crampton is playing Dr. Karen Redmayne. And they're both just showing them around the whole facility, and they're showing that there's VR experience. That it's mind-boggling. They put him in this VR experience where the female agent, Toria, puts on this helmet, and then... Oh, first of all, they're explaining to her how they...
Is this the one where Sid Haig is in it?
Wait. Yeah, we'll get to that. There's three parts where it's just... I don't understand what's going on. They're explaining to how they're trying to reconfigure these killers' minds. Mm-hmm. And there's one where I guess there's a woman locked up, and she played a character. They're explaining to her that this woman would kill people with a chainsaw, and they called her Leatherlace. I couldn't believe it, how cheap that was. It was so bad.
Well, what's his face wrote it? You said
Gunnar Hansen. Well, Gunnar Hansen was dead by the time this movie came out, and then they just like they kept photoshopping his face very cheaply, his face over her for some reason, I guess, so they can, they're trying to warp the girl Leatherlace's mind into seeing that her father, I don't know what the fuck. And it was played by the girl from the camp movie, Sleepaway Camp 1. Even though she plays somebody else. Yeah, that was her.
I didn't realize that.
It was her in the leather lace suit, but then she also plays another like person in the film. Like
How did I not even realize that was her?
Oh yeah, well, she's a very distinctive looking woman now. Like she's hot now, and she was hot when she had a big penis too, right?
That was a really sexy scene.
But to explain the Sid Haig scene, the Sid Haig look nice and healthy to you?
You know what? You know what's the scene that really stuck out to me was the Tony Todd scene, because it made no fucking sense. And it had nothing to do with it. Had nothing to do with anything.
That's the first scene in the whole film is Tony Todd.
And the end.
He has a woman out in the middle of the bushes. Then he does it. You know that thing when they had those fake shaman that would like put their hands all over your stomach, like they're pulling your cancer out of your body.
Yeah.
They have chicken guts, and they're just splatting around, so it looks like... It used to make me sick when I was a kid whenever I see that, because I thought it was real.
Yeah.
And if you watch that movie on Man on the Moon, the Jim Carrey one...
They do it in that too, yeah.
Yeah, they explicitly show that. It's like... The ironic thing about Man on the Moon is that, I guess, what's his face? Andy Kaufman had cancer. And then in that scene, like, the guy is like... putting his hand on him, like he's pulling his guts out, and then like Andy Kaufman like automatically sees that the guy's bullshitting him, so he starts laughing at it because he realizes how life is a big joke. So that happens in this movie, and I don't know what connection it has to the film at all. I guess it's some sort of
it has no connection.
Future. Yeah, he's just there, and I'm like, that's.
It's
Tony
just
Todd.
supposed to show another serial killer. I thought they were gonna bring him back in.
They gave him $500 to do 6 hours of acting. I bet you that's what they did. And he's such a good actor, and it's a shame.
No, he is great. But what a bad movie. They
wasted him like that. And then they also... but please, go into the Sid Haig, if you remember that scene.
Trying to recall. It was...
he was stabbing two people. He stabbed like two nude people, like a topless man and a topless woman.
Yeah, but he was aware of her presence and everything, right? Like
yeah, so I guess they were looking into the killer's minds, and Sid Haig... My friend was. I showed him the trailer for this movie. What was the movie about the Jewish serial killer? What the hell was it
is it called like Menorah or something? What the fuck?
Oh,
is
Russia. Yeah, it was. It's based on a Jewish tradition or something like that. And he's like a killer rabbi or something, which I've never seen, which is pretty interesting. I want to see that movie.
Yeah.
But I showed him that trailer, and he was
Hanukkah.
like,
It's called Hanukkah.
right. And he was like, "Wow, Sid Haig looks like shit." Because it's true. Because Sid Haig looks.
Does he
very
ever
cool.
not look like shit?
Well, I mean, he looked. Well, you know what I mean. Like there's shit, and then there's like, man, this guy looks like shit. Because I mean, he looked like he looked unhealthy in that Hanukkah trailer. He looks like he's very thin, so it makes you think about
Well, I think that's for the character.
It's sort of like you've seen what Frank Miller looks like now, right?
No.
Look if you can Google it, Frank Miller 2018, then you'll be like, holy shit, like what the hell happened? But it's obviously some illness, and we hope they get through it.
Okay.
But Sid Haig's in it, and he's like ice picks these people, and he's trying to be all scary, and I'm like,
he's like icicle killer is like who he is,
right. That's what he's noticed that as in the end credits. And then they also have Danny Trejo for 5 seconds, literally like 30 seconds. The lady walks into the room and Danny Trejo's like, ah, ha, ha, and she shoots him dead, and then he says some cryptic thing and then dies. And I was like, what the fuck is this?
He's the one that killed her mom or something like that?
Was he? I don't know. I don't listen. You know more than I. Adrian.
No. I think that's what it was. They set it up so that she could kill the murderer of her mom or something like that.
Adrienne Barbeau is here too. She's a voiceover, the computer, which is fine. She got out scot-free. She was just like doing the
She did a good job.
She did an okay voice. That was
it
fine.
was a good robot,
Evil.
a good narrator.
So I guess what happens in this film is that they're leading these two cops around. It's mostly Dee Wallace and the other actress, got Barbara Crampton, just leading them around the facility, showing them around. I don't know why they're there. Like Danny says, I think that there's some ulterior motive. Like they actually were criminals and were.
Yeah, I think they got in trouble for she got in trouble for killing that family.
Yeah,
maybe.
and the guy decapitated another guy like a fucking. Like
Can we just talk about the elevator scene though? Because
we will get to that. So eventually,
because it reminded me one time I did an art show and I was also and I was like DJing. Not DJing, but I brought a little speaker system, and so the curator wanted, you know who it is, but the curator wanted to do like a paint off with this guy, and they
stuff.
And they made it really cheesy.
Was known to try to be epic, and
they wanted to be epic. They made it really cheesy, and they played like hardcore, I felt like I was watching like a wrestler, WWF or something. Like it was so silly. And it was so embarrassing, and I felt embarrassed being at the soundboard.
Oh, bro.
And that's what the elevator scene here felt like to me.
Yeah, so
I felt embarrassed for the
main
for
action
everyone.
of the film happens when the lights are shut off. They shut down the lights.
Yeah. And the lighting in this movie is terrible too.
Oh, and
I couldn't see like 90% of the movie.
You're forgetting that also the father of Trauma was in it.
Yeah, him I know. It's him I saw, and his role was great.
His role.
He's always great.
They hired these people for 30 seconds of their time. That's what the hell is Leo? What the hell is his name? Why am I forgetting his name? Lloyd Kaufman.
Lloyd Kaufman.
And he's opening up this body on the medical bed, and there's an EPMD that's in there, or EMP. What is that? The
magnetic eruption,
bomb.
whatever the fuck.
Anyway, it kills all electricity inside of a building or wherever you can, and
electromagnetic something.
Pulse. And he opens it up unwittingly. He sets this off, and the whole fucking thing shuts down. They're stuck in this elevator, and it all leads to these cops trying to escape it. And that, I think, this reminded me very quickly of like what they could have done very easily instead of doing all this weird hyper super science fiction bullshit in this film, because they obviously didn't have the money for it. Listen, the location looked great, right? Mm-hmm. Like the location, they had all these big rooms.
They had all the actors. They had a cool location.
Interesting ideas, but they just could not fucking do it because the filming was horrendous. There's a scene, we're gonna get to it now before we get to the other stuff. There's a scene where where the two cops or the two agents have to get from point A to point B. They have to slide down the wires of the elevator.
That was really like one of the worst things. Like,
It's
and
horrible.
why are they shooting as they're
Not
falling?
not only was it scientifically inaccurate, it looked embarrassing. They slide down these elevator, like the wires of it, and they put on this death metal music out of nowhere, and they're shooting like it's the Matrix.
Yeah,
They
why
don't
were
have
they
to shoot
shooting?
anybody. All they got to do is slide down the fucking wire.
Exactly. The
First
whole
of all,
point is to keep a low profile. They're like, let's shoot down.
Listen, why would you shoot while you're going down the wires anyway? You got to use both hands.
And also, it wouldn't take. It would not be done. You know, it would be done in like 20 seconds. You're fucking free falling.
Yes.
It's, you know, you're going very fast. It's only 9 floors. They explicitly say it's 9 floors.
It doesn't look realistic at all. It's so cheap.
But they say it's 9 floors, and it took them like fucking a minute.
It did. And you know the director's like, this is it. This is the scene that everyone's gonna talk about. This badass and metal. And I'm sliding down these. And listen, you could do that in a different movie with $100 million, because it isn't this one. This is shit. Because it's sliding on these fucking wires, and it looked horrendous. It's just bad death metal music, and they're shooting in the air, and they're trying to use every fucking like camera angle possible to make it look great, and it's just garbage.
Yeah, it was really dumb. And also, there's no reason to shoot. But also, just the whole movie was like really dark. That was like dark in the sense of the lighting. Like it was like you couldn't see shit. Like, at least half the movie, you couldn't see anything. Like, I was sitting there, like you know, squinting my eyes, trying to see it.
There was a scene with the 3 Satans. Remember those 3 guys that were Satan? They actually had 1 or 2 good actors. There's like...
I enjoyed those guys.
Let's say there's 40 main characters in this film. There's about 5 good actors in this movie. Everybody else is horrendous, like really bad. One of the Satan guys I recognized, but I didn't know where he was from. Anyway, there's the 3 Satan scenes where I don't know why they were trying to be scary. They were like, oh, this one guy says he's the creator of Satan. This guy worships Satan. This other guy says he is Satan. And I was like, who gives a fuck? So it's 3 people. They tell him, and they're trying to describe their crimes like they're real horrendous. This man set a kid on fire. Like you're supposed to go, oh my God, holy Jesus. Okay, there's people like that in regular jail. I get that. What the fuck did this guy do so different?
Well, he believes he's Satan.
Oh, okay, that's right. Hey, you convinced me. There you go. And it's just like
that's all it takes.
It doesn't make any fucking sense because it's not anything fucking. It's like, you know, the Michael Myers thing that we talked about.
Yeah.
You know, like how they were going so crazy, how he was so amazing because he killed 3 people in one night. Big fucking.
Yeah,
deal.
right.
One of the Satans was Sean Whalen. That's what I remember. That he was an actor from like a lot of like commercials that you would recognize. He was also in that horrendous that Silver Skull movie that we saw. What was that movie
Silver
called?
Skull? Oh yeah, I remember that.
He was the guy helping them in the first movie. And there was another guy who was like the one who was remember he goes into that room and he rips off that lady's shirt and exposes her breasts.
No.
Remember they hire actors for VR experiences for the murderers to have, and it just made no sense. Remember they had a room of women in there and people, so they would be like. I
would like a VR experience where I could just have sex all day long. Why can't they do that for me?
Like they hired all these actors, and then they would have them go through the VR experience of getting killed, and I'm like, don't you have CGI or something? Like, it just made no fucking sense. The doctor explaining that, it was this actor named Richard Speight Jr. and he was like the only good like actor that you can see in the film. Everybody else is passable, but he's an actor that you're like, oh yeah, I've seen him in before.
What, the one that was all like happy and stuff?
Yeah, that guy, the guy with the mustache. Like you've definitely seen him in a lot of stuff. He was like in Band
I did
Brothers
recognize him.
like
I think
he's like an actual, like, out of all the actors, he's probably like an actor that's probably the best known in this film. Even though like he's a who's who for many of them. And the thing is, it gets even more ludicrous.
The guy that plays Sean Whalen is Roach in People Under the Stairs.
Right? Yeah, that guy exactly.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: it gets even more incomprehensible. Because there's a scene where
when at the end with Kane
before that they get into it. When I saw this trailer, I was watching the original trailer I saw like a year or so, 2 years ago or something like that, and I was like, boy, this looks bad. This looks really bad. And then the last shot in the trailer, was that skeleton talking on the microphone. Remember they find that room of mutants,
and
shit like that. And I was like, whoa, like that was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like I'll watch that scene.
That was kind of like a cool effects in there.
In the movie, that scene is only like a minute, And that to me is the best, most horrifying scene in this film. That movie should have been that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it was a prison escape or a prison like crazy riot film, and it had shit like that in it, if it was just like that, it would have been a fine movie.
Well, they tried to like. Yeah,
they don't even do nothing with those skeleton monsters.
They couldn't look. They tried. They wanted to make a prison movie that turns into like some supernatural, like, oh, it's like they're Satan or something. But they couldn't fucking do it, and their script was horrible. What they should have done is like made it much, much, much less of a big story, and had it just be like, there's like weird shit that goes on in this prison, and then they could discover the weird shit instead of making it like so stupid, and then at the end have like Power Rangers. Like,
yes, exactly.
Whatever the fuck
so at
that
the very
was.
end, they're like they're throughout the whole film they're talking about these what are they, the four evils or the five evils or some shit like that?
The four evils, I think.
Okay, so whatever. The main characters are trying to explain. They decide they're like the only way we can get out is by going down, which makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
Because all the prisoners were on the bottom level. They're not on the fucking top level, morons. And
well,
they're
they're trying to make it like supernatural.
Right, but they're trying to make it that they have to convince these five or I can't believe I already forgot how many.
I think it was four.
Yeah.
One of them was Michael Berryman.
Okay, one's Michael Berry, and they're dressed up like they're an Exo Squad, like of old '90s fucking.
It reminded me of Power
suits.
Rangers.
They're
like they're all
wearing
going to
these
touch hands, and it's going to make a big like triangle above their head made of light.
Spy Kids 3D. They had suits exactly like Spy Kids 3D, where they had like these video game suits on. Why? Why are they wearing robot suits in hell? Like, what the fuck are you doing? And they're they're like four actors, right? One of them is obviously Bill Moseley. He was in
House of a Thousand Corpses.
House of Corpses. He plays that.
They're making a new one now.
Yeah, I know, the Three from Hell.
Yeah.
I hope you think they CGI. This
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it because like they clearly are shot multiple times.
The second one is the best movie, and after Lords of Salem, Rob Zombie is just making dog shit. That movie 31, I'm telling you, is the worst. Okay, so it's Bill Moseley. There's an actor named Vernon Wells. Okay, that guy's the best actor in the film. This British dude. We know one of the four evil guys, the British guy.
Okay.
There's like a British guy with like half of his head gone, and he's telling them, you are. That guy's a motherfucking good actor. That you can tell. I'm like, wow, this guy's slumming it. He's like, just
why was he in it?
Paying for biscuits. I don't know. And then there's two other. There's like a woman there. I don't know who the hell. Oh, never mind. I take it back. By the way, Felissa Rose, the girl from Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, Sleepaway Camp. Angela.
It was Debbie Rochon that played her. Felissa Rose was in the movie.
Oh, you thought she was that weird woman that they never explained?
Yeah, I thought she was Leatherface. And there's two other people. This woman who was like supposed to be a riff on who's that lady? Lady Bathory sort of character.
Yeah, Elizabeth.
But
Bathory.
I don't know who she is. I don't know that actor. I tried to look up who she, what else she was in. I don't know what the fuck.
Elizabeth Bathory. Anyway, is great.
So the explanation I don't know what this movie's about.
Not great.
Right? No, I get it. I don't understand what the hell the movie's about because they're trying to explain to these people. I guess these people had the power to stop the others because they're so scared of them.
They have like magic powers that they can make people dissolve into flames and create force fields.
Somebody else mentioned this on a review, and I mentioned it. I noticed it myself. The women in this in this movie, they both had two very similar. Barbara Crampton says it, but another woman says it before him. They're like, "What are you gonna do? Rape and kill me?" And I was like, "What?" What the fuck is that? Like, are you gonna rape? It's almost like she's like saying, "Are you gonna rape and kill me?" Or just, it doesn't make any sense. Like, who the fuck says that? What the hell is the point of that line?
Well, I guess they know that that's what those people do.
I guess, but I mean, like, imagine the guy says, "No, excuse me, miss, I'm gay." But it doesn't make so. Anyway, they're talking to these four cyborgs at whatever they are at the end.
Cyborgs.
And then Jason Voorhees comes in and tell him, please explain that fantastic special effects.
Oh, so he walks through this like force field that strikes other people dead, and then he tells them that he's ready for whatever power they could give him, and they tell him they don't.
I guess he wants to be the fifth one or something.
And they tell him that they don't like him, but he challenges them. So they like touch their triangle scepters together, or whatever the fuck they do, and like make some evil power, and he's doing so good, and then all of a sudden he turns into like horrible CGI flame. It was so bad.
That is like the.
It was honestly like I couldn't
one of the
believe it.
worst.
Yo, my mouth was hanging open at that scene. I could not believe it.
That effect of him on fire looks like it comes with the camera that you buy. You
It looks like a fatality in one of the early Mortal Kombats. Like one of the really early
3D Mortal
ones.
Kombat, yeah, like the first 3D Mortal Kombat 4. That's what it looked like.
Like like Nintendo 64 level.
Yeah, so they fry his ass into hell, and I guess the two cops are revealed to have been murderers, and they were in the prison, and they're supposed to.
It got real vague with that part.
Yeah, they're supposed to spread the word of the four evils, and like what happened is that there's in the outside world, I guess it's sort of like a 1984 scenario where you cannot be good or bad, you just exist, and without evil there is no good. Sort of horse shit, sort of thinking. Sort of, they're trying to get all therapeutic with this movie, and which is bullshit.
It's real dumb.
And so the two cops get out at the end. And I guess the four evils escape or something, and they're trying to spread evil. Who knows? Yeah, it's a bad movie, man. This movie's like really bad.
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to look up to see exactly. Like, I want to see if anyone else has a idea of what happened at the end, because I truly don't.
There's people that love this movie, dude. There's people that absolutely love it because it has all horror. This is one of those movies where, like,
look, I love all of the people in this movie individually.
No, I get you. This is one of those movies that that there's people that are horror, like you and I are horror fans. We're not like bullshit horror fans.
Yeah.
But we're not blinded horror fans where we'll like anything just because it's a horror film.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people like that. We try to, keep quality control and enjoy a horror film is a film. Film has to be a film. It has to tell a story and be enjoyable.
Look,
even if
they had like all B actors in this and not like people like Tony Todd and shit, and made this movie,
it would still be a terrible movie. I don't care if they had a different director, maybe. But here's the thing. But this is one of those type of films
they need a different
where, like,
script and a different director.
If you go to like a horror convention and you said you didn't like this movie, and they go, "Oh, you're not a real horror fan. You don't know what you're talking about." It's like one of those. I feel
like even horror people will have to admit this one's bad.
I don't get it. Yeah, it's a.
I would be curious to see how it got reviewed, because it's just bad, objectively bad. Like the thing is, there's no way.
There's so many ideas in this film that you could go with and make it work.
Yeah, they should have chosen like one or two and not.
There's like 40 people in this movie. There's a lot of people in this movie, and you could do a lot with that. It's a prison, right? Remember when we saw Aftermath? Aftermath, the movie with Eli Roth,
with the earthquake or something. Aftershock.
And it's not in a prison, but there's escaped prisoners.
You're talking about Aftershock, right?
Aftershock, sorry.
Yeah.
And Aftermath is a movie about a guy fucking a corpse. That's a funny one on YouTube. But it's not funny. It's supposed to be like.
You just revealed yourself as a necrophile.
Wait, so I had two boners. Who cares? So, but Aftershock was like, that was more scary. Because it felt realistic, and there was like crazy people running around. It was like raping people. I was surprised they actually had a rape in a movie, and there was like people getting killed and shit like that. And like that was a little bit more spookier than this, because this was so cartoonish. It was
this was just dumb, and it was like half an action movie, like a bad action movie though. Yeah, they could have.
Everything looks.
They really should have shrunk the movie down to a much smaller idea and focused on the idea and made it good.
Had it solely been, they didn't need to put in that VR shit. They didn't have to put any of that stuff in there. It made no sense.
They could have done it, but just at a much less level,
It's astonishing how bad this movie is, like how stupid it is as a film. I can't imagine they had this many people in it, and nobody was like, "Hey, listen."
I want to know what people thought of it, but I'm seeing nothing.
I'm sure on the IMDb there's reviews for it. Let me see if there's any IMDb reviews, because on IMDb it's a 3.5 out of 10.
Oh, okay. I was going to say out of 5. That's bad. I can't believe that.
That's bullshit. Let me see if there's any reviews here. I'm sure on the Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, let's see user review. This might be.
Is Rotten Tomatoes or Bloody Disgusting? Like, are they trustworthy? I don't know.
I don't know, because those companies, like, they're
Like,
very
they get
nice.
paid,
They're
maybe.
very informative sites, but since they produce their own a lot of films, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once you start producing a film, who knows? Okay, so this is 1 out of 10 by CH Stad 27. Anyway, so it says The Expendables 3 of Horror. I was very excited to see this movie once I heard about it years ago. I know I went through a development hell, but I had hope. Looks like it was made in a in a warehouse and filmed with Android phone camera. The gore is so cheesy, it's laughable. Don't waste your money, you will regret it. I wish somebody warned me about it, so you're welcome. 2 out of 10 by Orion Grant. The reviews here are a little bit odd. Anyway, here's a real one. This film blows. So yeah, I'm gonna go with those two.
Yeah,
And,
that sums it up.
Sounds about right. Yeah, listen, this movie's bad. What rating would you give this film?
I'm gonna give it. Like, it's nice to see all these guys.
Yeah.
So I got to give it a little bit of credit for that. Like, I like seeing Tony Todd and like Bill Moseley and all these people. But I'm gonna give it like a 2 out of 12.76. 2 out of 12.76. Having people dressed in Power Rangers outfits inexplicably set a horrible neo-Nazi on fire using like 1990s CGI graphics.
I'll give this movie a 2 out of 109.
Oh wow!
As I was watching the shower scene, I was still looking over to see that booty on that very skinny girl, which I'm sure she didn't have one.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you can't watch this movie. It makes me stutter. That's how bad this movie is. And with that, Danny, what's the final word?
Welcome back, 2019.